All right, folks. Man, it just keeps getting better, doesn't it? It feels so cathartic, especially on this particular topic. Perhaps one of the most disgusting things about Donald Trump has not been his awful beliefs and his penchant for lying, or even his desire to hurt Americans. The most disgusting thing has been the amount of sex crimes he's been found guilty of, and the amount he's been accused of that, in my opinion, holds some pretty decent water to them. And the fact that MAGA just refuses to acknowledge these details, they won't even, argue or debate about it. They just willfully bury this information. Notably, and I always bring this up, the story about Epstein and Trump getting sued by two women who claimed that they raped them when they were 13 years old, and described essentially exactly what would become public knowledge years later during the Epstein trial that we all know and love, where he ended up in prison and then dying in prison, probably not from suicide. So, Trump is obviously implicated, in my opinion, and because of that, he has been panicking. He used the Epstein files instead of his biggest weakness. He turned it into his biggest weapon and tried to use it against the Democrats by rallying up his base to call for their release. Though he expected his fans to have the memory of goldfish, clearly, because now they're calling for it to come out and they will not take no for an answer. And Trump just keeps trying to hand-wave them and is now getting outright aggressive towards them, as his own supporters demand he provide them these files. And I mean, he promised they existed, he promised they were getting released, and now he's going back on all those promises. And it's cast a lot of doubt on Trump, even among a lot of his own less radical side of his base. A lot of Trump supporters are angry right now, and they actually feel betrayed. And I must admit, it feels pretty, just feels fulfilling. You know, it feels vindicating to see these people finally realize that, yeah, we were trying to tell you all this the whole fucking time, dude. This was our point. In fact, though, Trump does not know how to deal with overwhelming criticism, it seems, because he just keeps digging himself deeper, and his normal Trumpisms are not working to get him out of this. And that is why we've got this segment here, where we're going to be talking about some new information that came out just last night, or I think it was the night before last, talking about how Trump had the FBI skim through the, now we know they're real, Epstein files, and flag any mentions of Donald Trump so that they could redact his mentions from the Epstein files before potential release, telling us that they were making an edited version of the Epstein files, meaning they could have put anybody in that edited version, interestingly enough, but the more important thing is that they really did not want Trump to be in there. And so they flagged mentions of him for removal in an edited version. Yeah, mind you, still 3 more years of this guy. Exactly. And so, let's talk about this, because it's gonna get a little bit crazy. MAGA is not taking this well. They're just getting angrier and angrier, and you'd think their goldfish memory would make them just move on already, but no. They are locked in on this one, and I have to say, I respect them for it. Of all the things to actually hold Trump accountable for, this might be the most noble of things they could get mad at him for. At least this time they are actually, in some semblance, protecting children this time. Anyway, let's get into it. We got a new Philip DeFranco video talking about it, actually, and I found that Philip DeFranco is, ironically, one of the best newscasters, not just on the internet, but in all of media right now. Pretty impartial, pretty just out with it, and pretty well researched. He's made mistakes before, but he usually amends them, barring some exceptions, so I trust his reporting. Let's find out what's going on in this new updated story with the FBI.
Epstein problem just keeps getting worse, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Trump's Epstein problem just keeps getting worse, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people's, leading the charge. Where the Trump Wall Street Journal Epstein $10 billion lawsuit is actually so much more important.
Dude, do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to usurp Trump? Like, she's a crazy bitch, but so's Trump. And so do you think she's trying to out crazy bitch Trump and like become the new Trump? Like ascend the ladder of politics by playing the same character he did? She is insane and evil. I wouldn't put it past her to have some plans for national and then global domination behind her sickening Titan-like gaze.
Important than many people realize, and Trump is now going after NFL and baseball teams seemingly in an attempt to distract from his Epstein scandal. We're talking about all that and even more on today's brand new Philip DeFranco show. You daily dive into the news, starting with this. Trump, he may be throwing a million distractions at the wall, but his Epstein problems, they haven't gone anywhere. But with this latest coming from the New York Times, with an Epstein accuser telling the outlet that she brought Trump's name to the FBI twice regarding what she called a troubling encounter. With that accuser being Maria Farmer, a woman who worked for Epstein in 1995 and 1996. Well, she was in.
I heard about this. We're hearing a big story about Epstein's ex-girlfriend telling stories about Epstein and Trump, and I haven't even looked into all of that. I forgot about that detail. That's also going to be a part of this.
In her 20s. Right? And she actually first reported Epstein to law enforcement back in 1996 after she said she was sexually assaulted by both him and Ghislaine Maxwell, and after she learned that Maxwell had massaged her teen sister's bare chest. But they're telling the Times that when she reported this to both the NYPD and FBI, she told officials to take a broader look at those in Epstein's circle, including Donald Trump. And with that, she pointed to an encounter she said she had with him back in 1995.
I don't know why I'm acting surprised. All of this is exactly what I expect. It's just particularly, I don't know. It's just disgusting to hear about. Trump and Epstein are so gross and wrinkly, and just imagining their sausage fingers doing any kind of diddling is unpleasant.
When Epstein unexpectedly called her to his Manhattan office one night, with her saying that she showed up in running shorts only for Trump to arrive soon after, and he began to hover over her. Maria saying she felt scared as she could feel Trump staring at her bare legs, and then when Epstein came into the room, he reportedly told Trump, no, she's not here for you. But then after Epstein and Trump left the room, she claims that she heard Trump comment that he thought she was 16 years old. And on top of bringing this to the authorities in 1996, she apparently told the story again when the FBI interviewed her about Epstein in 2006. With Farmer telling the Times that she had always wondered how law enforcement handled her complaints. And while the Times said, it wasn't clear or not if her remarks prompted a deeper investigation into Trump, they did claim that her story is among the clearest indications yet of how Mr. Trump might have come to be named in the sought-after Epstein files. But all of this is, for his part, Trump's camp has denied the story, with a White House representative saying the president was never in Epstein's office. The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep. And all of this, it's coming as Trump's been playing Epstein whack-a-mole for a few weeks now, trying to fight constantly.
I don't know. So from my understanding, because I did a big deep dive, or I watched a big deep dive, I should say, on Trump and Epstein's relationship recently, my understanding is that Trump and Epstein were really good friends for like a couple decades, like almost 2 decades, I think, like 15 years. And they had a falling out over a relatively minor like business disagreement. Everyone like seems to back this up in like the Florida area where this happened. They were like trying to buy out a piece of property to develop and invest into, and they got into like a bidding war, and like Trump resents Epstein because of it, I guess, or maybe it was Epstein resented Trump. Regardless, they broke it off. But before they broke it off over that business disagreement, they were close. They were quite close. What's up, Clinic? Welcome.
Constant questions and criticisms about his administration's handling of the files. But also, the more that he's been fighting it and attacking his base for even being interested in it, the more public interest has grown. And in fact, we're now seeing reporting that books and media about Epstein have seen an uptick in sales in recent weeks. And that, along with things like a Netflix docuseries on Epstein seeing a 268% jump in viewership in the second week of July compared to the first week. Right, so the interest in the case and the history here, it's growing as the pressure has been as well. Though that, as many doubt that we're ever actually going to get substantial information. Because while the DOJ did ask a federal judge to unseal grand jury transcripts related to Epstein, you have many thinking that whatever is going to come out there, it's just going to disappoint the public. With, for example, Sarah Kristoff, a former assistant U.S. attorney in Manhattan, telling the AP, the president is trying to present himself as if he's doing something here, and it really is nothing. Or with sources saying that grand jury presentations are generally brief because the goal is to just give enough information to land an indictment. So that's why you had another former federal prosecutor saying it's not going to be everything the FBI and investigators have figured out about Maxwell and Epstein. People want the entire file from however long. That's just not what this is. Or I guess just in other words, get your Nathan Fielder, I hope you're hungry for nothing gifts locked and loaded. But of course, even though
I don't think we're seeing anything substantial from these files anytime soon. Like, someone's got to leak something. I feel like this Epstein file thing, and people are going to cringe at me making this comparison, but I don't care. This Epstein file situation reminds me so much of the wait for Hightail. Like, everyone wants answers. There's so much mystery around it, and we're just constantly told to wait. and then the rug is pulled out from under us, and we're told it's never coming after a long wait. And all you're left with is seething anger at the people who said you were going to get it in the first place and got your hopes up. Um, it's oddly similar to that. And man, people don't seem to let that kind of disappointment go. Like, Trump burned his own base in kind of the worst way possible. He blue balled them, you know? Like, he could have promised many things, but promising something that was a big meme and an objective document that people want to see and not following through, that's a blue balling that most people can't ignore, you know?
That very well could be a dud. We're still going to have to wait to see what comes. Especially as we're also going to have to keep our eyes on this lawsuit that Trump just filed against the publisher of the Wall Street Journal, which, in case you missed it, it came out just after the Thursday show, with the Wall Street Journal reporting that Trump sent, let's call it a super sus birthday card to Epstein back in 2003, with a report saying that Ghislaine Maxwell had compiled letters from
For those that don't know, the letter that Trump sent, he drew a naked, like the outline of a naked woman, quite crudely because it's Trump, and where the like right above the vagina area, like right above the crotch, he squiggled his signature out in such a way where like his squiggly signature was supposed to be her bush. So that I'm gonna be real, that sounds like the most Trump thing ever. So I believe it 100%. I love that every time we see a picture of Trump and Epstein together, in any of these like news coverage stories, Trump and Epstein are always in a different outfit. Because they hung out so much and went to so many different parties together, and there's so many photos of them together at different events on different days. I don't think I've seen this particular photo. Trump looks really young in this photo. Anyway.
Dozens of Epstein's friends as a birthday gift, and one was from Donald Trump. And they reported that that letter included a drawing of a naked woman with his signature mimicking pubic hair, with it then also featuring a sort of imaginary scripted conversation between Trump and Epstein that notably ended, a pal is a wonderful.
Okay, this, in context of what we know, is wild to me. This is an exchange between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that was, like, made up by Trump and written down in the note. It's very bizarre, but, like, let's read it. There must be more to life than having everything. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Then Jeffrey says, and I don't know what he sounds like, so I'll just say, and nor will I, since I also know what it is. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Yes, we do, come to think of it. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? As a matter of fact, it was clear to me that the last time I saw you. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. He sounds like a sleazy old New Yorker. I figure. I mean, I don't know how else to make him sound. I've never heard Jeffrey Epstein speak, to tell you the truth.
Thing, happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Though there you had Trump denying the authenticity of the letter, saying, this is not me, this is a fake thing, it's a fake Wall Street Journal story, I never wrote a picture in my life, I don't draw pictures of women, it's not my language, it's not my words. And,
I'm gonna be honest, that might be the least convincing denial I've ever seen in my life. But definitely Trump's own words, that response. He tweeted that, but it definitely wasn't like an aide tweeting that out. That was his words.
You know, even though there is substantial evidence that Trump, I guess the word we're using is wrote quite a few pictures in his life, he still followed through on his promise to sue. With Trump accusing Dow Jones and its parent company News Corp of libel and also listing Rupert Murdoch and 2 Wall Street Journal reporters. And you have the suit claiming
Trump plans to sue everyone now that he is in office. You know, he actually promised this very strongly, if anybody remembers. Let me see if I can find it. Donald Trump calls for more slap suits clip. Let me see if I can find it. I think there was a clip of it in this John Oliver segment, if I'm not mistaken. We love John Oliver, my goat. Though he looks more bird-like, but, you know, he's the goat and all that. Did he not show a clip of that in this video? Huh, must be mistaken. Regardless, there's a clip of Trump at a rally where he's, like, calling for everybody who criticizes him to be sued. and to have to pay big money to him, and his fans are just cheering, roaring, thundering cheers. And then there's another clip I wish I could find where a random guy in the crowd held up a picture of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together at a Trump rally, and the whole crowd started booing the guy as Trump said, "Get him out of here. Get this loser out of here. Go back to your mom's house. Get this loser out of here." And the entire crowd is booing the guy, but he just stands there defiantly holding up the picture of Trump and Epstein smiling together.
That, quote, defendants concocted this story to malign
This was
President
a
Trump's
while
character
ago.
and integrity and deceptively portray him in a false light. But there you have the Journal standing by its reporting with a spokesperson for Dow Jones saying, "We have full confidence in the rigor and accuracy of our reporting and will vigorously defend against any lawsuit." Now, that said, while we wait to see how things play out, there are two big things to be mentioned here. One, very interestingly, is the reaction from the MAGA base that has actually been demanding answers from Trump, because this report appears to have actually pushed them back into Trump's corner. It was kind of like muscle memory. A bunch of people that have been criticizing him, asking more questions, not liking his reaction to things, they quickly rallied around it. For many of them, seeing him once again as the victim who's, fighting the big machine, rather than the guy who promised to release things and is now part of the big machine.
Maybe I spoke too soon. It looks like MAGA is back to embracing child trafficking. I guess it just took a couple weeks. And they remembered who their leader was.
And then attack people for not doing the thing that he promised. And so what you ended up seeing were people like Laura Loomer and Charlie Kirk, who had been pressing on Epstein to varying degrees, dismissing the report as a partisan attack, with outlets like Politico saying, this allowed a fractured MAGA base to train their ire on a common enemy, the media. And you even reportedly had unnamed administration sources telling them, quote, "Thank God for Dems and media overreach on this. It saves us every time. There's nothing Donald Trump does better than being on offense. It has helped rally the troops because people see this as more bullshit." That said, it doesn't mean that
it's true. America really does love Trump more than they hate the media more than they could ever hate Trump. And so, honestly, the best thing the media could do at this point is start, making excuses for Trump. If CNN and MSNBC were all saying, Trump is right. There's nothing more to this whole Epstein file thing. Epstein did kill himself. I guarantee you they would all be screaming what the fuck is Trump hiding? They're lying to us. They're in cahoots. I promise you. CNN kind of fucked us on this one. Wall Street Journal kind of fucked us on this one by actually reporting on this story in a honest light, and not just defending Trump and Epstein's secrets and backing up what the government says, because if they had, MAGA would have gone the opposite way. They'll always go the opposite way of the mainstream media. It's become like a cultural thing in America.
The situation around Epstein is over, or that things could go against him again. Especially as you're seeing things like just this morning, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene implying that MAGA isn't done asking Epstein questions. Writing, quote, "If you tell the base of people who support you of deep state treasonous crimes, election interference, blackmail, and rich, powerful, elite, evil cabals, then you must take down every enemy of the people. If not, the base will turn and there's no going back. Dangling bits of red meat no longer satisfies. They want the whole steak dinner and will accept nothing else." Right, and all of that is the second big thing is,
dude, it really doesn't feel right not to hear the AOT music playing every time I see her. You know what I mean? You know that one track that goes da, 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 that one bit in the first season. I feel like that should start playing every time Marjorie Taylor Greene's face is ever shown in anything.
We have to keep our eyes on this lawsuit, because it is just one of a number of media lawsuits that we've seen, with previous ones being settled and experts saying this is setting up a very dangerous situation for the media and even the integrity of our democracy. And whether or not Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal and everyone involved here, they win, lose, or settle, it could set the stage for whatever the hell the next few years are going to look like. And then in other big news,
we're moving on to another story, it seems, on the Philip DeFranco front, so here's where I'm going to cut it off, but that is the bit that I wanted to talk about primarily. But keep in mind, while MAGA largely seems to be betrayed by these file leaks, keep in mind, they have been trained a long time to look at the other way when anything makes Trump look too bad. And they've done it before on this very subject. Trump kicks out guy holding Trump and Epstein photo. Let me see if I can find the video, because it's pretty wild, watching that with all this context we now have. Check this out.
Stop it. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Go home to your mom, darling. Go home. Get him out of here. Out.
He's got a whole building booing.
And we're gonna stop.
Trump is really good at getting a whole crowd to boo at someone for calling out a guy for being friends with Epstein. Right? Like, he's gotten whole crowds of people to roaringly boo at someone for calling this out in the past. So I wouldn't get my hopes too high that MAGA is going to pull through on this one, but I can only hope the average moderate who got invested into politics only based on meme, wedge issues sees this and ends up deciding, oh, yeah, Trump was full of shit just like the rest. And at the very least refuses to vote Republican next election, even if they don't vote Democrat. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable at all whatsoever, then please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. Regardless of how you support the channel, though, leaving likes and comments is the totally free and best way to do so. It only takes a second. Don't be a lurker, be a liker and a commenter. Helps immensely, whether you're watching live or after the fact. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications if you haven't already, so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future. And of course, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, be sure to follow my social medias linked down below, particularly my fan Discord, don't forget, as it's the main hub of my community and my fan base, and I host gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights there every Friday, every week, so I hope to see you guys around there. And finally, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you all so much for watching, as always, and have a good one.